Hello, everyone. My name is Isaac Muley, project manager for the Better Backstages project. My pronouns are he, him. I have black hair and a black beard, and I am wearing a yellow shirt. Just some quick friendly reminders. Unless you are speaking, please just turn off your camera and your microphone. Give folks a moment just to do that. And through Zoom, if anybody would benefit from using closed captions, you can click on the bottom and you click on more and then select captions that would be helpful for you. Great. So before we get started today, I just want to acknowledge that many of the people who worked on this project are based here in Mi'kma'ki, which is the ancestral home of the Mi'kmaq. Sometimes when we talk about colonialism and reconciliation, it feels like such a large topic that folks are unsure of where to start or how to approach it. The same can be said about accessibility. Sometimes it can feel very overwhelming. The guide we're going to go through today is very comprehensive, and we hope that not only will it help us create more accessible places, but it will also act as a guide on our individual and collective journeys towards reconciliation. I want to start by thanking everyone for being here today, for their time, for their energy. Being here today and seeing so many people sign up is a really exciting first step. Today we're going to introduce to you our Better Backstages Toolkit. This is a digital resource with practical tools to help identify barriers, as well as checklists, companion guides, and self-audits. With these resources, our goal is to support performance venues and arts organizations, as well as artists, with the necessary steps to create safe, accessible, and inclusive opportunities for artists. We want to take a moment to acknowledge some of the incredible work that has already been done in this community. First, with an accessibility report by Eastern Front Theatre that was led by April Hubbard, that led to the creation of the Accessibility Hub, and now we have the Better Backstages project. This shows that this community is really committed to not only talking about accessibility, but that we are committed to taking actionable steps and collaborating together to build off previous work. There are many reasons we need to take steps forward, but I just wanted to share with folks an important stat. That as of 2022, Nova Scotia has the highest provincial rate of people living with disabilities in Canada at 37.9% of the population aged 15 and older reporting a disability, while the national average sits around 27%. This tool is going to be really important in making sure that we are supporting those who live here in Nova Scotia. And finally, I just want folks to know that we're going to be sharing a lot of different resources, definitions. We're going to cover a wide variety of topics and information today. And there is no pressure to absorb everything in one sitting. The resource was created over several months. And so our goal today is to share with you what we have created and for you to go through this information piece by piece at your own pace. We don't expect anyone to become an expert, and different venues and different communities will have different needs that they are hoping to address. This tool is not about saying this is where or how you should start. It's about providing information so that folks can start at their own pace. We are all at different stages of this journey towards creating more accessible spaces. So please take the time you need to go through the site. And then as we get started, I'm just going to introduce folks to some of the funders and partners who made this project possible. And we're going to start with Lori from the APA.
Thanks, Isaac. So I'm Lori Gillis. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Executive Director at the Atlantic Presenters Association. I am based in Beothuk, also known as Halifax. I have long, dark brown hair. I wear clear frame glasses, and today I have on a turtleneck sweater, which was a good choice this morning when it was very chilly, but now that it's getting warmer, I am getting a little warmer. I just want to thank Isaac for the work you've done on this project, and I also want to thank Music Nova Scotia and the Halifax Juno Host Committee, who are our partners on this project. I think our role at APA could be best described as a catalyst. Music Nova Scotia approached us with the opportunity to collaborate on a legacy project that was born of the Junos and out of the Halifax Juno Host Committee. And key folks in our organization, namely Lisa Glebe and Kai Bryan, brought this idea of a backstage accessibility audit type project, brought it forward, and then also proposed a plan to bring it to fruition. So I want to recognize Lisa and Kai for their fantastic work on the project and for bringing together all the players who made it happen. The project is important to us as it falls under, or it helps us to, work towards our vision of a diverse, healthy, equitable, and sustainable performing arts sector here in Atlantic Canada. So thank you very much, Isaac, for this opportunity, and I hope everyone really has a great look at this amazing tool that has been developed. And I'll hand that back over to you.
Thank you, Lori. And I'm now going to introduce Elsa from Eastern Front Theatre. Elsa.
Thanks, Isaac. Yeah, I'm Elsa Peel. I'm the general manager of Eastern Front Theatre. My pronouns are she, her, and I have blonde shoulder-length hair, and I'm wearing a black V-neck t-shirt. And yeah, we've been just thrilled to be able to partner with APA and Music Nova Scotia on this much needed project. EFT is just wrapping up phase 3 of the accessibility project, where we conducted venue audits on some of the performing arts venues in the city. And we were only able to focus on the public-facing built environment of those venues. And it was noted several times that we desperately needed a tool for the backstage areas too, especially since those areas change depending on the production and are impacted by the company's priorities and values. So we're very excited and hope that venues, companies, and artists will be able to use this toolkit to improve the spaces they manage and that they work in. So very excited to share this with everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Elsa. Appreciate that. So we are now going to go through the website, and I'm just going to play video. So just give me a moment.
Hi, I'm Megan Savani Merrigan, an accessibility and audio technical consultant and the founder of Apex Arts Access Consulting. I'm the creator of the Better Backstages Accessibility Toolkit for music and art spaces, which I will be introducing. This comprehensive accessibility and audit guide was created for Atlantic Presenters Association in partnership with Eastern Front Theatre and Music Nova Scotia. The toolkit is a part of the Juno's Legacy Project. Accessibility is about removing barriers so that music and art spaces work for everyone. Many people think of ramps when they think about accessibility, but barriers take many forms. Some are physical, like stairs or narrow doorways. Others are attitudinal, like policies or behaviors that exclude people. Accessibility also depends on internal operations, including staffing, workplace culture, and safety. This toolkit is a practical resource to help venues, organizations, and workplaces identify barriers and take meaningful action. It includes checklists and companion guides designed to help spaces make thoughtful, sustainable changes over time. Built on the expertise and experiences of disabled people, it goes beyond compliance, focusing on disability justice, policy, workers' rights, and employer responsibilities. Accessibility resources work best when they reflect the needs of the people using them. That's why we've included a feedback mechanism, so venues, artists, and workers can share their insights. Your feedback helps shape updates and future versions of this toolkit. Access by Design 2030 is Nova Scotia's plan to remove barriers that prevent people with disabilities from participating fully in their communities. By 2030, all public spaces, businesses, and organizations will be expected to meet accessibility standards. 1 in 5 Nova Scotians has a disability. As the population ages, that number will continue to grow. The province passed the Accessibility Act to address these barriers and make sure everyone can access spaces, services, and employment opportunities. Accessibility standards apply to several areas, including the built environment, customer service, communication, and hiring practices. As art space owners, managers, or operators, you may need to adjust your buildings, update how you provide information, and rethink audience engagement to meet these standards. Planning for accessibility now allows you to stay ahead of these requirements while also making your spaces more welcoming and usable for everyone. Beyond legal requirements, accessibility measures support artists to participate fully in creative spaces, build careers, and share their work without unnecessary obstacles. The toolkit is organized into 4 main sections. Section 1, the built environment. Section 2, the adaptive environment. Section 3, access riders, and Section 4, human capacity. Each section is designed to be flexible and self-paced, allowing you to start with any module or work through multiple sections as needed. I hope to provide you with practical tools to support real, lasting change in making your spaces more welcoming for everyone. This guide provides general information to help music venues understand accessibility in the built environment. It is not a substitute for professional advice or a comprehensive assessment. The suggestions are for reference only, and any structural changes should be made with input from qualified professionals. The audit is based on best practices from the CSA/ASCB 65123, National Standard of Canada, Accessible Design for the Built Environment. Let's start with sections 1A and 1B, the Built Environment Companion Guide and the Built Environment Audit Tool. This first module is about physical spaces and how people interact with them, getting in, loading gear, navigating, stage access, etc. The toolkit includes a physical audit to help you assess different areas. There's a checklist you can print or use on a tablet. It's designed for real spaces, so you don't have to go in order. Just work through it in a way that makes sense for your venue. Each section in the audit connects to the companion guide, which gives more detail. If you need to measure something, the guide explains why it matters and references CSA guidelines. The toolkit includes 2 key resources, the Built Environment Companion Guide and the Built Environment Audit Tool. These work together to help venues evaluate their spaces, identify strengths, and determine areas that need improvement. The companion guide comes first. It explains the accessibility standards venues should aim for and provides context for why these features matter. It helps venues understand what's working well and where there are gaps, so they can make informed decisions about accessibility improvements. The audit tool follows, breaking accessibility into clear, measurable items that venues can assess on-site. The Built Environment Audit covers different areas of a venue, helping spaces identify barriers and see what's working well. It looks at key areas like entrances, pathways, seating, washrooms, and stage access, places that impact both performers and audiences. Each section of the audit focuses on a different part of the space, so venues can go through it step by step. We start with arrival and parking, making sure people can get to the venue in the first place. That includes things like accessible parking spots, clear signage, and safe load-in areas for transporting gear. Then we look at exterior entrances, checking whether doors are wide enough, easy to open, and free of steps or other obstacles that could block access. Interior circulation focuses on pathways inside the venue, whether there's enough space to move through hallways, seating areas, and backstage areas with few or no barriers. The audit also covers washrooms, making sure they have enough wheelchair turning space, grab bars, and other features that allow people to use them independently and with dignity. Performance and rehearsal spaces look at stage access as well as movement on and off the stage. It checks whether there's a ramp, lift, or another accessible way to reach performance areas. Then we go into backstage and green rooms, which are often overlooked but just as important. Artists need accessible dressing rooms, seating, and pathways, just like the audience does. Finally, the audit looks at safety and emergency evacuation, things like clear exits, emergency signage, and plans that include people with disabilities. Each section helps venues take a step-by-step approach, making it easier to identify barriers and plan improvements. One example of how these sections work together is stage access. The audit checklist asks whether there is an accessible way to reach the stage, such as a ramp, lift, or step-free route. The companion guide explains what makes a ramp usable, including slope and width requirements. If a venue has only stairs leading to the stage, the guide helps venues recognize this as a barrier and consider options like permanent ramps, lifts, or temporary solutions such as portable ramps. The audit also assesses space for movement on stage. It looks at whether there are clear pathways so that performers using mobility aids can navigate safely. Ensuring enough space benefits all performers and crew by preventing congestion and reducing tripping hazards. Using cable ramps or raceways is an example of reducing barriers in the built environment. Visibility is another factor. The checklist asks whether stage edges, stairs, and ramps have high contrast paint, tape, or tactile indicators. The companion guide clarifies why blind performers or those with low vision may rely on these markings to navigate safely. Simple adjustments, like adding bright grip tape to stair edges or using tactile strips, can help prevent serious injury. Using both the audit tool and companion guide gives a full picture of accessibility. The checklist helps venues identify barriers, and the guide provides insight into what needs improvement and why. It's best to view accessibility as an ongoing process and not a one-time fix. Some changes are simple, while others may require professional consultation. Now we will look at Section 2, the adaptive environment. Accessibility extends beyond physical spaces. It encompasses the policies, attitudes, and systems that shape a venue's inclusivity. The adaptive environment section encourages performance spaces to reflect on their practices, identify strengths, and uncover areas for growth to remove attitudinal barriers affecting musicians, performers, crew, and audiences. When artists don't have access to creative spaces, the impact goes beyond exclusion. It affects financial stability, mental health, and career opportunities. Limited performance opportunities mean lost income. Artists on income assistance face strict limits on earnings, making it difficult to accept paid gigs. Without accessible spaces, disabled artists are pushed to the margins, making it harder to build sustainable careers. Barriers in performance venues create stress, hypervigilance, and a loss of dignity. Washrooms and dressing rooms that don't accommodate all genders can make artists feel unsafe. Poor air quality and strong scents can trigger health reactions. The way you communicate, set policies, and train staff determines whether artists can participate without unnecessary barriers. This section includes two key resources, the Adaptive Environment Companion Guide and the Adaptive Environment Audit tool. These tools work together to guide venues in evaluating their environments thoughtfully and comprehensively. The companion guide is divided into short sections called bites, each focusing on a specific topic related to accessibility in music and arts spaces. These bites can be read in any order, and each one links to the next, allowing for flexible navigation through the topics. When you've finished, you can proceed to the Adaptive Environment Audit tool, a series of reflective questions designed to help you determine your strengths and areas for improvement. The bites cover various focus areas, each designed to prompt thoughtful consideration. 1. Accommodating Indigenous smudging ceremonies in performance spaces. Reflect on whether the venue provides safe, ventilated areas for smudging and if staff are trained in cultural safety practices. 2. Amplifying African Nova Scotian voices. Consider partnerships with African Nova Scotian artists and organizations and assess the diversity of your programming. 3. Barriers to hiring immigrant artists. Evaluate hiring policies for inclusivity, including the availability of translation services during application or onboarding processes. 4th, cultural bias in staff and artist relations. Reflect on measures to address unconscious bias among staff, along with the provision of anti-bias training. 5. Accessible load-in zones and backline. Assess the accessibility of load-in zones for wheelchair users, as well as the adaptability of backline equipment for disabled artists. 6. All gender facilities, bathrooms, dressing rooms, and inclusive signage. Consider the availability of all gender washrooms and dressing rooms, and whether signage is clear and inclusive. 7. Sensory inclusive backstages. Reflect on whether sensory-friendly areas are available backstage and if lighting and sound adjustments accommodate sensory needs. 8. Air quality and scent-free policies. Evaluate how scent-free policies are communicated and whether venue ventilation meets accessibility needs. 9. Deaf space communication design principles in art spaces. Consider the use of visual signals to improve communication for deaf performers and whether interpreters are available upon request. 10. On-stage navigation and gear identification for blind and low-vision musicians. Assess whether tactile flooring is available on stage, and if cables and equipment are marked with tactile indicators. 11th. Green rooms for artists with chronic pain, mobility aid users, and invisible disabilities. Reflect on the comfort and accessibility of green rooms, ensuring they accommodate artists with chronic pain or mobility aids. 12. Mixing in-ear monitors, IEMs, for hard-of-hearing musicians. Evaluate the accessibility of the audio setup for hard-of-hearing musicians and whether audio technicians are trained in accessible monitor mixing. 13. Food and beverage hospitality, catering to medical and cultural dietary needs. Consider how dietary needs are addressed in hospitality riders and whether allergen information is clearly communicated. 14. Families, caregivers, service animals, and prayer spaces. Reflect on whether family-friendly spaces are provided for artists with caregiving responsibilities and whether service animal relief areas are accessible. Engaging with these bite-sized guides helps create spaces where artists feel supported, included, and able to participate fully.
We're just going to pause there for a moment. So as part of this process, we were very fortunate to be able to send a draft to the website to both a venue operator and to a local artist to kind of share their initial feedback so far. So I'd like to welcome Andrew from Chester Playhouse to the conversation. Hi, Andrew.
Thank you. I'm Andrew Chandler.
Yes,
I'm executive director of the Chester Playhouse, and I'm taking over this conversation. I use he, him pronouns. I am in Minnesquek in Chester, and I am a bald man with an aging baby face who is tired, and I'm wearing some glasses as well. For us as a venue operator, one of our biggest challenges really isn't the will to adapt to suit the needs of our artists, but knowing what they need and how to ask without feeling like we're going to be insensitive or intrusive or incomplete. It can feel easier in the moment to let the artist ask for what they need rather than us guessing or asking poorly. But in practice, we know that there can be a power imbalance and fear on the part of the artist that if they ask for what they need, they are afraid they'll be labeled as difficult. And won't receive the support they need in the short term, and won't be asked back in the long term. What this has meant in practice is that sometimes we don't find out about the artist's needs until quite late in the process, when time and planning make it really difficult to deliver on those, and so we do so poorly. So in practice, finding out when they arrive that an artist has trouble with stairs, for instance, or that they need a particular environment before the show, or even that there are food allergies or sensitivities. Some of these are things that we ask as part of the contracting process, but when contracts are signed by agents, they can get missed. So I'm really grateful that this resource exists. It's full of tools and expertise that lets us compare against the standard and figure out what we can be doing better to make our theater more accessible. A big one is the template for an access rider that they're going to talk about in a moment here. This is a really incredible tool that we are going to start sharing with the artists in advance pretty much immediately. It's exhaustive. It covers so much ground, things I hadn't thought to ask, like how and when an artist would like to be paid, as they just referred to. For someone on income assistance, that's something that an artist needs to navigate. I expect that some artists will find the rider more than they need and much more than they're used to being asked. But I believe that in sharing this tool, in asking for that feedback, I hope and I think that we are signaling that any of the areas that the rider covers are areas where we are eager and enthusiastic to meet the artist's needs. The rest of the toolkit is comprehensive. It gives a really a guide for specific events or for the organization as a whole. From the built environment, the actual infrastructure of the building, what they call the adaptive environment, the procedures, the things that we do in the building to support the artist, and lastly, the human capacity, giving detailed ideas about creating a set of policies to guide the organization and create a culture that's supportive of everyone. I found the toolkit really easy to navigate and as I say, comprehensive. I kept trying to think of things that I'd want to know more about to try and trip them up, but they were all there, both in terms of the building and in the processes and the procedure. Ultimately, for us, trying to make an accessible space has felt like a huge amount of work in which I am not an expert, so it's felt daunting, if not impossible. But with this resource, we can work through step by step, following a guide and working piece by piece to make the space more accessible. So we're not planning to do everything all at once, but we can take steps at our pace to make meaningful improvements one step at a time. So for us, this is a really, really valuable resource, and I'm really excited to dive in more.
Thanks, Andrew. I really appreciate that you took the time and to go through it and provide that feedback. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
And now we're just going to dive into the last couple sections here on the website.
Section 3. Access riders. This two-part section includes 3A, the Access Rider template, and 3B, the Access Rider resource directory. These tools help artists communicate their access needs while providing venues with practical ways to support them. An access rider is a tool that helps artists outline their access needs, whether they're related to physical accessibility, sensory accommodations, or mental health. This is a proactive way to ensure that artists can perform with fewer barriers, giving event organizers and venues the information they need to provide the right accommodations. For performance spaces, access riders help normalize access requests as part of standard booking, making the process smoother for both artists and staff. They aren't legally binding, but there are legal implications when it comes to duty to accommodate and discrimination laws. By incorporating access riders into the booking process, venues take an active role. Access riders should be shared alongside any contractual agreement and advertised on your website as part of the booking process. Transparency and honesty are key. it's better for a venue to be upfront about what can and cannot be provided, rather than making vague promises. The Better Backstages Toolkit helps with this by providing audit tools that support performance spaces in assessing their actual accessibility. Knowing what's in place and what still needs work allows management to set clear expectations while working toward long-term improvements. Access riders work best when venues include detailed accessibility information on their websites, listing both available features and existing barriers. 3A. Access Rider Template. This customizable PDF form is a template that can act as a starting point. Artists can use it to outline their access needs before an event. It can be downloaded by clicking the folder icon to the right of the page or through Google Drive. 3B. Access Rider Resource Directory. This Google Sheet provides links to local and national resources, including ramp rentals, sign language interpreters, and CART services, communication access real-time translation. For artists, submitting an access rider should be simple and welcoming, with clear points of contact and multiple ways to communicate. Documents should be screen reader friendly, properly formatted with headings, and structured for digital accessibility. Since some access riders may include sensitive medical information, management should handle data collection and storage securely and responsibly. If you like, you can pause here to take a moment to explore the Access Rider template and resource directory. The final section is the foundation of the toolkit, and arguably the most important element when it comes to offering truly accessible performance spaces. Section 4, Human Capacity. Human capacity focuses on internal operations and workplace culture to make sure musicians, performers, road crews, and staff feel safe and supported. Accessibility is not sustainable where there are unsafe working conditions or systemic barriers that limit participation. This section helps assess staff training, violence risk assessments, harm reduction, and the creation of fair, inclusive environments. This section includes 2 key resources: the Human Capacity Companion Guide, which provides context, real-life examples, and direct guidance on workplace safety, and the Human Capacity Audit Tool, which offers reflective questions to help venues evaluate their practices and identify areas for improvement. 4A, the Human Capacity Companion Guide. This section explores holistic approaches to accessibility, workplace culture, and internal operations. Venues rely on staffing, training, and internal policies to create safer spaces. But nightlife and performance spaces, especially where alcohol is being sold, are high-risk environments. Staff often work under high stress, low pay, and unpredictable conditions, increasing the risk of burnout, harassment, and violence. High turnover and lack of support leave many workers vulnerable. This section examines staff safety, fair pay, career opportunities, and how workplace culture affects your ability to offer effective and sustainable access support. Part 2.0, Anti-Blackness, Ableism, and Disability-Related Misunderstandings in Law Enforcement Interactions. Black, disabled, and marginalized people face higher risks of police violence, and this is no different in nightlife spaces. Police disproportionately harm and kill Black people, Indigenous people, and people with disabilities. Many venues are rethinking how they handle security and emergency response to reduce harm in interactions with law enforcement. This section explores how racism, ableism, and systemic bias show up in security practices and crisis response, and ways to approach minimizing police involvement to keep your staff and patrons safe. Part 3.0, Responding to Mental Health Crises, Alternatives to Police Intervention. Calling the police for a mental health crisis can escalate a situation instead of resolving it, sometimes leading to violence, criminalization, or even death. In February 2025, in the span of less than a week, 2 people experiencing mental health crises were killed by Halifax police after they were called to conduct a wellness check. This section explores ways to incorporate community-based crisis response, work with local mental health organizations, and create safer responses for people in distress. Part 4.0: Harm Reduction and Emergency Response to Drug Overdoses. Overdose deaths are preventable. Many venues are taking steps to train staff in recognizing overdose symptoms, administering naloxone, and providing harm reduction resources. This section covers strategies like offering sharps bins, fentanyl test strips, and designated safe spaces for people who use drugs, all proven approaches that help prevent overdose deaths and improve nightlife safety. Part 5.0: Violence in the Workplace and Nightlife Safety. Harassment, assault, and workplace violence are serious issues in nightlife and arts spaces. This section explores violence prevention strategies, workplace safety assessments, and establishing clear reporting systems. It highlights ways to train staff in de-escalation, bystander intervention, and responding to harassment and assault. Part 6.0: Workplace Violence Risk Assessments. Regular risk assessments help to recognize potential threats and create strong protect staff and guests. This section looks at practical ways to assess risks, establish reporting systems, and provide staff with the tools they need to work safely. Part 7.0: What to do if you experience discrimination at work. Resources for arts sector workers and steps for employers. Many arts and music workers experience discrimination, harassment, and ableism in their workplaces. This section provides resources for reporting discrimination, seeking legal support, and navigating workplace rights in the arts sector. Staff should feel safe voicing concerns or requesting accommodations without fear of losing financial stability or opportunities. Employers need to be aware of the laws surrounding the duty to accommodate. Part 8.0: Paying disabled and low-income artists on income assistance. Some artists rely on income assistance programs that penalize them for earning money, making it difficult to accept paid gigs. Strict income and savings limits can lead to financial instability or the complete loss of benefits. Income assistance programs are structured to keep people in poverty. You can help by offering flexible payment options, alternative compensation methods, and advocating for fairer policies that support disabled artists. The Human Capacity Glossary. And finally, the glossary defines legal terms about discrimination and workplace accommodations, helping you understand and apply inclusive practices. Thank you for your interest in accessibility and the Better Backstages Accessibility Toolkit for music and arts spaces. If you have any questions or would like to work with me, you can contact Megan Savani Merrigan at info@apexartsaccess.com or visit my website at www.apexartsaccess.com.
So, just some different things navigating the site. And now we were fortunate enough to be able to share the site with a local artist. So we're going to chat with Riley Rain, who had the opportunity to go through the site and share their experience as an artist and how the site can benefit artists.
Hi, my name is Riley. Thank you, Isaac, for bringing me on. My pronouns are they, them. Super excited to be here. I am a phenotypically white individual with brown hair and glasses. I'm wearing a bandana and a blue jacket with a plaid shirt under. And we are having some technical difficulties. which is a-okay.
Thank you so much, friends.
You're very
We did it.
Apologies, please continue.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Yeah, and I was very excited when Isaac asked me to take a look at this website and kind of provide some feedback. This is something that's really needed for disabled artists in Nova Scotia. And as Isaac pointed out earlier, there's a lot of us. I think for me, as both an actor and musician, I also I have seen a lot of issues in a lot of different circumstances. And so I'm really happy to be able to kind of say what is useful for me, because I do have a wide range of ways that it could be useful. The first thing that I think is really helpful and that I'm really happy to see is that it is mainly targeted at people in power being able to learn how to better serve their community. And I think that that in itself takes the onus off of disabled people to always have to be self-advocating. The goal would be that stuff is just created accessibly, and we don't have to come in stating why we need what we need. For example, I find that often in an audition, they'll ask you to share if you have any access needs. But that's a really hard thing to respond to when you don't know what you're walking into. So if I don't know how the space is going to be facilitated, if I don't know how they're going to be supplying their sides, i.e. what we read off of, then I can't tell you what my access needs are. And I even sort of ran into an example of this issue where I auditioned for something, said that in the response said, I don't think I have access needs for this, so should be good. And then I showed up and it turned out I had been, for context, I have really severe dyslexia, and I had been sent all of the wrong material to learn. And when I got there and asked, okay, well, I need the right scripts, the scripts that they provided all had tiny text. And then I was also asked to cold read it live in front of people. And it very quickly just turned into public humiliation of Riley and my worst nightmare. And it's really easy for that to happen because I didn't know that I had been sent the wrong sides. So normally I prepare my own large text material. I just need you to send me what I need to read. But if I'm not being sent the right stuff and I don't know I'm not being sent the right stuff, then I don't know to tell you that if I'm going to be asked to cold read, which also I would have said, I don't cold read. But I wasn't given the opportunity to make those statements, and then was handed something that was totally inaccessible to me, and it turned into a really bad experience. So I think having these things built into the systems is honestly what is the most useful and going to help a lot of people, because also when that happened to me, I just looked bad. They didn't know that this was my worst nightmare and that this was totally an access issue. I just walked away looking like I am a bad actor. And so then it also puts the onus on me again. Anyway, that was a bad experience. I'll move on from that. But yeah, I'm very happy that this exists so that hopefully other artists aren't going to bump into these types of issues. The other thing that I find really helpful and useful is the access rider. I remember the first time that I was asked to provide a rider. This was as a musician. And to be honest, I actually just didn't even know what a rider was. And I didn't even know how to put it together. So I think that this tool is helpful for people beyond disabled artists. It's helpful for any emerging artist, which I think is also the beauty of access support, is that it supports all people. We always go back to the example of curb dips. Not only do they help wheelchair users, they also help people pushing a stroller. They also help people who might use a different mobility aid. They're safer for children. They're better for dogs. An access measure that might be for one specific group, honestly, typically benefits everybody. And so I really appreciate the access rider and how detailed it is. Some of those things don't apply to me, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be included because they're going to apply to somebody else. And having it written out like that is really helpful. And I think also makes you go, oh yeah, that actually would be helpful, but I never would have thought of that on my own. So yeah, really really grateful that this is happening. I feel like this is stuff that is really needed and is hopefully going to save people being publicly humiliated while they're just trying to be an artist. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm really happy I got to be here, and I'm super, super glad that this exists. So great work, everybody.
Thank you, Riley, for sharing and for being so vulnerable. I think something that you really highlighted is that, you know, our access needs can change just because something isn't needed by somebody right now, or just because that can change for a variety of different reasons. So I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate you bringing your perspective to this chat. So thank you.
Thanks, Isaac.
As we kind of wrap up today, we're just going to use the last couple of minutes to see if there are any questions that anybody has. Please, you know, if you don't have any questions, that's okay. Again, there's a lot of information being shared today. If there's any initial thoughts that anybody would like to share, we ask that folks use the reaction tool and raise your hand. Or you can type it into the chat, whichever is easiest. So Marian Donnelly is wondering how we access these toolkits. So after today, now that we have everybody's contact information, we are going to send the website link to folks so that you can begin going through the website and going through it at your own pace. I believe that was your question, Marian. Allegra has her hand up. Hello, Allegra.
Thank you. I just want to say thanks so much to everyone involved in this process, because from the Junos last year, it really is amazing to think that there is something that will be a lasting impact on the community here. Large events like this coming through have a lot of really exciting benefits, but for there to be something that is lasting and adding value to providing better access, and, you know, I think as Riley was saying, putting the people in the positions of power at their responsibility to kind of do the work and access the resources. I think it's really exciting, and I'm so grateful to the team at APA and to Isaac, Meg, Elsa, everyone, Kai, who has been involved in this. Thank you all so much, and I'm thrilled to see so many people here in this session. Thank you.
Thanks, Allegra. We have a question from Shannon in the chat that asks if there's a plan to update with a more pan-Atlantic approach for the information and resources being shared. Absolutely. So part of the feedback tool is if there are folks in the chat, or if there are organizations that have resources that they specifically want to share with us, they want to reach out and say, here are some things that I think would be great for the toolkit. That would be wonderful. And we're also looking at the next steps in terms of how can we update this resource. Many of us work across the 4 provinces, and so looking at how can we make it more accessible to more people. So yes, we're looking at the other steps and continuing to add on to this resource as it's not sort of finished. It's always growing, always adding to it. So Christia in the chat is saying that this is so exciting and it's needed, and that they are grateful the work that's gone into this so far.
Can you tell us the best way for folks, if they walk away from this meeting and they have thoughts or feedback that they would like to share? How can they do that?
Absolutely. So probably the best way is probably to send it through the info email from the APA, but there is also a feedback form on the website. So if you're navigating it, if you're going through it, you have a question while you're going through the website, you can also use that form as well. And there is the email there as well for folks. Thanks, Guy. And I see that Megan has their hand up. Megan, welcome. No, I think you're still mute.
Okay, I'm using my iPad today, which I don't usually use for meetings because I was not sure if I was going to be able to make it. But I just wanted to pop in and say hello and thank you so much, Isaac. You did such a wonderful job of presenting today. And I just want to thank everyone who spoke because my head was down for several months just working so hard writing this toolkit. And I have not really had an opportunity outside of our little group to actually get any feedback. So it really means so much to me. And I'm really thankful for everyone who shared their experience reading the toolkit. You made my day. And yeah, just really, really happy to see this come to fruition and be out there for people to use. And I do hope to continuously grow the toolkit over time. And if anybody ever wants to keep track, their APA will have, they shared their info there. And you can also check out my website is apexartsaccess.com. And you can always contact me if you have any other questions as well. So yeah, thank you so much. I'm really grateful to, all the partners and everyone who worked together to make this happen. Thank you. I don't know how to stick.
Thanks, Megan.
I
Appreciate all
passed.
your... I'm gonna force you to stay spotlit. Just kind of recognizing the time. Just gonna say thank you to everyone for being here today. It's really, as you can tell, that seeing 70 people sign up and want to be here, want to engage with this material, wanting to have these conversations is really, really important. And I think, as Riley kind of pointed out as well, that a lot of this starts with sort of organizations, but also all of us working together to make spaces more accessible for everybody. So I just want to give a big thank you to everyone for being here today, for sticking with us, to going through the information. We'll be sending the link to the website out via email. And again, the email is in the email is in the chat there if you'd like to send any feedback, or if you'd like to use the feedback form on the website to share your thoughts with us. So thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.